Hello everyone and welcome to episode 30 of Lesbian Talk. Dun 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 dun.
It's the 30th episode extravaganza. Actually, it's not an extravaganza.
The second one since we came back from hiatus, and the second one that's found an Omega's blip. Maybe one day we'll be back on Project Million, we're not entirely sure. Hopefully things will happen and we'll be back there one day.
But until that time, we have not only been on hiatus, we have been on vacation.
Yes, we have been on vacation. Well, you've been on vacation.
That's true, you were just around.
Yeah, Omega, basically this is the UK-ish, well, UK, if UK means Derry, Belfast, Giant's Causeway, and Edinburgh. Special. Yep. So, basically what happened was, Omega's parents wanted to come over to the UK and visit. My parents were like, oh, blah, 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 blah. They must come over and we must meet up with them, and blah, blah, blah. So, on everyone's insistence, Omega came over as well, and we had a 6-person trip over to Edinburgh, and then Omega came over to Northern Ireland and stayed for an extra 4 or 5 days, while her parents went down to London. So, we're going to discuss the amazing things that happened before we went to Edinburgh, when we were in Edinburgh, and when we came back from Edinburgh. Dramatic chord.
Dun, dun, dun. Is that dramatic enough? Is that good?
Yes.
Alright. So,
Yes. So set the scene with the non-UK based part of the story.
Well, my parents have always wanted to go to London, and my uncle works for a company that has offices all over the world, and he travels frequently, so he has a lot of frequent flyer miles. So he said to my parents, well, look, I can give you these frequent flyer miles so you can, go on holiday. So they said, wow, this is great. And so they wanted to go to London, and Hagen's parents were like, oh, well then, you must come spend a few days in Edinburgh, and so that's how that all came together. So what that meant is, for once, I was the one that ended up jet-lagged, and I flew over, actually, on 9/11. A few days earlier than my parents, and I flew in from Philly, direct flight to Dublin, and you came down to meet me.
Yes, I did. Although, yeah, I was nearly jet-lagged, because I did what I usually do whenever I go to Omega's, which is stay up the night before, get the 4:30 bus to Dublin, which is almost a 4-hour ride, and met her as she got off the plane, and as she got her baggage, and as she went through customs, and as she got through all that.
Actually, the funny thing about customs, so we landed at around 8:30 in the morning, and there was a massive, massive queue for customs. And there was a short little line where all the snotty EU people went through with their special fancy schwanky passport. They just had to scan. Well, the rest of us had to wait in line. But so, I was waiting in line, and there was a member of the security team, standing at the side, and these two girls, they looked like college students, they both wearing pea coats, and they looked kind of annoyed with everything in the world, came up, I guess, from the side, and she said, oh, well, where are you headed today? And the girl says, oh, well, we have to catch a flight to London, we came in from New York, so we just need to get our bags to get the flight to London. And the security woman says, oh, that's fine, well, you need to go through this line here, you go through customs, you can get your bags. And the girls were like, no, we just got here from New York City. We just need to catch a flight to London. So we just have to get our bags. And she's like, yes, I understood. We have to go through customs. And then baggage check is on the other side. You get that, you can make your flight. And the girl's like, well, look, can't we just do all this in London? And the woman said to her, well, it's a different country, dear.
Although, on one level, I got a slight bit of sympathy for them, because whenever I'm traveling internationally, I do find it a bit weird that if I'm, say, stopping. So when I was flying from Canada to, back to Dublin, and I had to make a stop off in Chicago for a couple of hours, I did think it was a bit annoying that I had to go through customs in America just to stay in the international area and then go through. It did seem a little bit unnecessary.
But in all fairness, it is another nation's sovereign soil,
Oh, I understand that. They, like to do what they want.
I just thought it was funny, because they were really annoyed about the whole thing, so.
Oh, yeah. But you're complaining about the fact that all the EU ones just have to swipe something, and I would have to tell you that whenever I fly to America, whenever we go through the American immigration part in Dublin, because for some reason Dublin has American immigration on the Irish side, I get to sit with stand with a bunch of Europeans Well, all you Americans just go, we're just going to America. Doo-doo-doo-doo, and they're happy.
No, they give you the third degree, too, because apparently they gave my parents a third degree on their way back. But I'll get to that later.
That's weird.
Yeah, so it's not like a nice, hey, welcome home, friend.
Were they nice? Were they horrible to you on the way back from Dublin?
No, they weren't horrible, but I told you that, well, okay, so I'll get to this now. So, for some reason, for certain flights back to America from Dublin, you clear customs on the U.S. side. So, which means, like, when I was leaving, I got through, by the time the bus got there and I got to the terminal and I checked in, the woman's like, oh, yeah, we have to clear customs by 9:15, and it was like 8:40 by that point. So, I had to go through security, like the standard security, on the Irish side. Then I had to go all the way through the terminal to the U.S. pre-clearance, go all the way down, fill out a form, wait in line, go through customs, and then we had to go through security again with the TSA there. And the woman behind me was American, and she said, didn't we just do this? I said, yes, but we have not yet been abused by the TSA today, so our return to the country is not complete. And then you go to the gate, and you stand at the gate. And of course, there's nothing to eat. There's one kiosk that sells coffee. So when you're leaving, you have to show your boarding pass and passport again, like you do for any other flight. Then you have to go down a set of stairs, go up an escalator, go down a hall, where you show your boarding pass and passport again, and are again asked, are you carrying any contraband? Did you pack your bags? Have you blah, 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 blah. And finally I was like, just let me on the plane. I'm American. And why? Anyway.
See, I'm a fucking saint. I have to do that every single time I go to yours.
I love you, honey. I never realized before now.
But you might find it a bit annoying to do the multiple security checks, but I find it really, really good to do customs on the Irish side because, man.
Well, no, it does save you the time, but I'm going
to be standing around the airport anyway. I'd rather be minimize the amount of time on the other side.
Oh no, going through customs is fine. It's just the sheer amount of checks you have to go through. Like if I went to Philly International right now, and I got a flight to, I don't know, Chicago, I would show my ID and my boarding pass twice. My ID when I check in my baggage, if I'm checking any baggage, or when I print my ticket, and to get on the plane. And that's it.
Yeah, but that's, like you said, that's the same country. Like, you did air flying inside the UK.
Yeah. Oh yeah, it was a breeze going from Belfast to Edinburgh.
Yeah, and back, it's UK, it's the same country, and I haven't actually, I can't recall ever flying from, actually what I did, I flew from England to Italy, but you needed a passport for that, but it wasn't a case of, if you do not have a passport, then you'll be, most trouble ever. Much of the EU is in, I think it's called the Schengen zone, which basically says you don't need a passport. I think the UK is not in the Schengen zone, however, Ireland and the UK's border is more porous than a very porous thing.
Yeah. But
that was a bit confused, that whole sort of discussion by us.
Sorry about that.
It's not your fault, it's mine.
Oh, it's all your fault.
I'm the stream of consciousness one. You're the logical one.
Oh yeah, that's true. So then we got the bus up to Belfast. And...
Up to Belfast, hi.
Yeah, except I didn't say it that way. And we went to the Crown Pub again, which is great, and I had a steak and Guinness pie, except for there was a bee.
And you were worried, but, you escaped and you were fine.
You did.
Now, everyone, this was Omega's first experience with meat pie.
It was alright. It was all puffy, though. I thought it was going to be different.
Yeah, the UK sort of is experts in meat pie, so there's all sorts of different types around.
None of them contained a person and/or Sweeney Todd, though. We checked.
Well, how did you check?
Well, I opened it up, and there was not a person inside that I was aware of.
They'd cut the person up into small pieces, and the idea would be that you wouldn't be able to tell.
What madness is this?
I'm just, thinking about the logic of cannibalism.
That's true. But then we met up with my in-laws, and we all drove back to Derry.
Well, after a long time. We left the Crown, but we were supposed to stay there for several hours and enjoy the surroundings, because it's a beautiful building. If you're in Belfast, it's just opposite the Europa bus station, but it's decorated like the interior of a church. And it's somewhere like 300, 400 years old. It's really, or maybe 200, but it's still old. So then we ended up sitting in like a cupcake place with...
Oh, right, because it was raining and cold.
Yeah. But yeah, and then we did end up going back to Derry.
Well, okay. for the first night, a small neighborhood in Derry.
It's a small neighborhood. It was actually the suburbs.
And kittens.
Yes, there are kittens.
I got to see your kittens.
Yes, Mariatic and Pippin.
Kittens. They are so fuzzy, you guys.
And they totally adored you.
Yeah, they were really sweet. I thought they were going to be like, what foolishness is this? But they were nice.
They're much nicer than Teddy's kitten.
That's true, because she runs away. And we had curry. I had homemade curry. That was good. And then, I can't remember what else happened, and then...
we were both very tired.
Yes, that's probably why I can't remember. I think we just went to sleep, and then...
Yeah, both of us were up for hours and 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 hours. But then, the next day, you got to investigate the land that the gods named Derry, / Londonderry, / Stroke City, / all the other names.
Yeah, it's got walls, and we went to the museum there. Oh, we got fish and chips. We got fish and chips at a place.
Yeah, that was Fiorentini's, which is okay, guys, you're gonna love this. It's an Italian-owned ice cream place, but they also run a fish and chip shop. So you've got this like cafe, ice cream parlor selling you sundaes and things, and you can get fish and chips.
And I got a kind of sundae that apparently is an English thing called a Knickerbocker Glory. That it's like, okay, so it's got, ice cream and whipped cream and all sorts of things. And it's got Jell-O cubes inside. I'm not happy with that. I
was genuinely shocked when I found out that it's such a faux pas in America to have jelly mixed with ice cream.
It's not a faux pas. It's just weird. I mean, it's just like, ugh. It's like one or the other,
So you guys find that so weird. I find that so amusing.
It's weird. But I took a picture. But
it's such a common thing over here. Ice cream and jelly. This is the equivalent of you coming over here and discovering that British people find the idea of chicken sandwiches to be weird. It's just so.
We just don't do that in civilization.
I know you don't do that. Now I know that. I didn't know at the time, and I'm like, holy fuck, it's such an obvious thing, and yet you guys are so weirded out by it.
Yeah.
Confused.
And then we went to the Tower Museum. Yes,
Derry's small museum.
And then the guy was like, "Oh, where are you from?" And I'm like, "America." And then he goes to Hagen, "Where are you from?" And she says the name of her neighborhood. And he goes, "Oh, what state's that?" And then she's like, "It's up the road."
I was like, it's the Waterside. The Waterside is what the east side of Derry is called. And then he was like, oh, he finally clicked that I was in fact a local. Yeah, I was just assuming that I was American.
Warner. And then
people assumed I was American all the time.
That's true, because you're with me. More on that later, for maximum fun. Then we I got to see the famous arcade bowling alley cinema.
Yeah, this is the one that me and Robin / Arnicarian like to watch the films in. It's a really good cinema. We honestly would not be doing the cinema vlogs as much if we had to go to the older and not quite so good cinema that's in the center of town. With this one, you got the parking right there. It's free parking, so we can.
Pretty schwank. Yeah.
Started off as a bowling alley with like a restaurant and a cafe. Then they added massive New Jersey style arcade games. Then they added like a mini casino and a ballpark for kids. Then they built their own new fangled cinema, which Omega was genuinely impressed by.
Oh yeah, the seats are really big, huge and comfortable. They have you can get Ben & Jerry's ice cream right there. And I do have to admit that the cinema popcorn is kind of like this sweet, crunchy thing going on. Was pretty good.
Yep. See, you walked in there wanting to prove me wrong because I badmouth American cinemas so much, but now you understand.
Yeah, it's pretty boss.
This is what I have been raised to accept as normal when it comes to cinemas.
So, and we did the vlog, which it's for Insidious 2, which you can find it up on Hagen's blip.
It's also on Tigwitay.
Oh yeah, that's right.
WordPress and all.
And so then we had to get up at like a bajillion o'clock in the morning.
I gotta apologize for the vlog. None of us had seen Insidious 1, and it wasn't bad enough for any of us to really scream and rant about. So, the vlog, to be honest, is a little bit dull. I really wish we'd had a better film.
We're postulating of theories.
Oh, I know, but I just wish...
thought it was good.
I wish there was a movie where we could have had louder, more angry reactions to, or at least one we knew what the fuck was going on in.
That's a good point. And then the next morning we had to get up at a bajillion o'clock in the morning, like 3 hours later, because us and my parents-in-laws were driving to Belfast to get the flight to Edinburgh.
You said it wrong.
I'm tired, and I'm not concentrating on Scottish right now.
You said it was Scottish. No,
it was like the whole entire weekend. This is what I had to deal with.
No, the pronunciation of Edinburgh, the use of borough is not just Scottish, it's British English. So,
I'm just going to start saying Edinburgh just to get on you.
That would be new and interesting.
It would. Like for a while, I used to say you live in North Ireland, like it was a state. Like this North Island, South Island, Dakota. But yeah, so that was actually that was a pretty good flight, and it was like just a half hour. So then we buggered off and went into the city because my parents-in-laws, Haggis' parents, were staying in the airport to wait for my parents, who were getting a flight in from Heathrow.
Yeah, they sort of, poor dears, they decided to go via Heathrow. One thing you don't want to do if you have an international connection.
That was the best or cheapest way.
Oh, probably. I'm just thinking that, if you get the choice, try not to go internationally, through Heathrow as a transfer point.
That's true.
It's annoying.
I've heard bad things about Heathrow.
It's like the UK's version of JFK.
Oh, right.
I was, last time I flew through there, I was lucky that I had about 8 hours in my layover, so I wasn't worried about any of the hundreds of bad things that could happen, such as Spoonie when he accidentally entered the country illegally.
Oh yeah, that's right. But yeah, so
So if listen to this, anyone's listening to this, you can ask Spoonie about that. I'm not saying any more.
But let me just tell you that it is a beautiful city. Like, we were in the old part of the city for most of the time, and the place that we stayed was located really wonderfully right across the street, well, on a street that was across the street from the castle, and right next to a Starbucks, which was really great for me.
Just perfect for you. You get history, you get, crazy volcanic geology, and you get coffee.
And I had a latte, too.
And first day in Edinburgh, we went across we took a short walk, and you saw the beautiful flower clock.
It was not a short walk. Literally every day we walked to France, is the amount of walking. I ate so much junk, and I came back weighing less than I started with.
Well, I told you this would be the side effect of in the UK. You could, because of the differences in what is in our food, you come over here, eat the exact same stuff, you will lose weight.
This is very true.
I mean...
Plus we walked to France. France.
Well, there was no ocean involved. Anyway, first day, camera obscura. Camera obscura is a medieval invention. I believe it's medieval, might be older. And basically they use lights and mirrors and things to create medieval CCTV. The one that we've got, the one that Edinburgh's got has been open since about 1850. It's the oldest purpose-built tourist attraction in Edinburgh. And it operates exactly the same way it did in 1850, even though Omega wondered if in Victorian era people saw the thing in black and white.
No, okay.
You see, the thing, it projects the image onto a table so you can look at the area around you.
Because it's done with mirrors. But I was really, really, really tired, and I accidentally said out loud, because we're talking about, we're about to leave in, Victorian, I love the Victorian era and stuff like that. I said, well, I probably didn't see it in black and white. Oh, wait. And I realized what I said, and she did not shut up about it for, literally the entire part of the vacation.
That's because it was hilarious. Mm. Now, the Obscura, you go for the actual show because it's, I'm, a little bit intelligent, and I still find it really hard to get my head around the idea of how this works, how it operates. I know it's pretty simple, but it's just it's mind-blowing to me that this they could do this back, hundreds of years ago. But Then, as you go down from the Obscura, you've got these amazing little sort of visual-based shows and exhibitions. You've got holograms. You've got
it's kind of like an optics museum, kind of.
Yeah. What's the word for the things that you think it's one? Optical illusions.
Yeah.
It's absolutely wonderful. Like, you had one of them where, like, I'd been there years and years beforehand, so I saw this big white wall with these black markings on it, and I knew instantly that this was the thing that if you stand there, they flash a light so bright it basically creates a shadow on the wall using, like, photosensitive wall material.
Yeah, they're photocells.
Yeah, so
Omega... You have to press a button first to make that happen.
Yeah, Omega did not know what this was, what it was. So what I did was put Omega in front of it and told her just to stand there, make a pose, and then I hit the button, hearing the clicks. Went click, 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 and then I went, stop, Hiroshima time. And Omega looked up and saw a bright flash, brighter than the heart of the sun, and then her shadow was on the wall for the next 5 minutes. Darkest joke of the weekend.
Okay, but when someone says anything about Hiroshima, like, you think about the atom bomb and you look up, because you're, what, a bomb? And I looked right up at the thing in my face. And then I realized the triple layer of that joke, and I said, that's horrible. That's like Cards Against Humanity horrible.
It really is.
You're a horrible person. I can't believe that you did that.
It was a good joke.
We got lunch at the Last Drop Pub, which is it's down in an area called the Grass Market, which actually used to be a cattle market, and it's called that because it is right outside of where they used to hang people, and people would be allowed, I guess the condemned would be allowed to get a last drink there.
Yeah, it's I'm not sure if it's myth or if it's history that they definitely got the last drink there, but they like to play it up.
Yeah.
They have like a mini monument to where the gallows were and people who were executed there.
And actually, it's a really nice little pub, you know? They had some really great stuff there.
Yeah, and you got to try something. What did you try?
I got a traditional lunch of haggis, neeps, and tatties, which, although it sounds like a euphemism for some kind of dirty sex act, it is actually haggis and potatoes and turnips. And it was really good, actually. I enjoyed it.
Mashed potatoes, mashed turnips. And then you can mix those together and you can create clapshot.
Clapshot sounds like an STD.
Yes.
Sorry, honey, but it does. I just got to be honest with you about that.
This is true.
And then we ate this huge lunch, right? And then we went across the place to a fry place, and you got literally an American football's worth of deep fried haggis.
Yes, because when we were going to Edinburgh, my mindset was we were going to go in there and I am going to have the only food rules I had really was Omega tries haggis, I get deep fried haggis fish and chip shop style. And I asked the waitress at the Last Drop and she suggested the fish and chip place nearly across the road. So I went in there and you know, just, I didn't know when we'd be down in the Grass Market again, and so I got some and it was fucking amazing, and that is the best way to eat haggis.
I tried some. It was okay. They also had deep fried ribs. So when you're on Radio Drum, you better tell Brad.
Deep fried ribs and deep fried Mars bars and deep fried burgers and stuff. It's Scotland. What do you expect?
Barf.
I love Scotland. And then we went to, of course, the Scotch whiskey experience because we wanted to learn all about whiskey.
Actually, it was pretty cool. They gave you this little ride with pretty good, a pretty good setup, use of flat screen monitors and stuff like that. This to tell you how single malt whiskey is distilled and brewed and all this other kind of stuff.
Yeah, it's basically like a really long Disney dark ride about whiskey creation.
It's pretty cool. And then they bring you into this room. And they tell you about the the 5 kinds of single malt whiskey. And, where they come from and what defines them. And then at the end, they give you a glass. You get to pick which one you want to try. And then they tell you...
get to smell each one of them.
They tell you how to breathe in the aroma. And then they take you to a room which houses the world's largest single malt Scotch whiskey collection. Actually, it might not be single malt. I might be wrong about that. But it belongs to this Peruvian businessman, or this South American businessman. and it's over 3,000 bottles large, and it's on loan, and pretty much the entire Scotch whiskey board or regular, I don't know what they were, but this conglomerate that built the Scotch Whiskey Experience got together and rented it. And it's pretty boss.
That is pretty cool. And the whole thing, if you're in Edinburgh, give it a go, because for £11 you get the tour, you get the whiskey trying, your type of whiskey, your choice, and you get free glass. Now the glasses, you put 4 of the glasses together and it's for sale for like £40, so it's already, brilliantly costed.
Yeah, their gift shop was great. However, a lot of the whiskeys were really, really, really expensive. And I didn't want to spend a whole bunch that, might be confiscated at the border for some reason or what have you.
But you liked what you got. You got like the skeleton head, was it?
Smokehead.
It was the Isla.
Yeah. And actually the liquor store near me has a few that aren't too expensive. They're peated. That's what I like, is with the smoke. So next time my parents go down to Total Wines in Delaware, which is a huge liquor store, I'm going to go with. See if I can get another,
Get yourself a wee dram.
Yep. But then, where did we eat dinner that night? Oh, we went to the
Italian place.
Yeah.
Where I got Iron Brew flavored sorbet.
And my dad, is not one for Iron Brew. He was like, Iron Brew is disgusting.
Philistine.
Yeah.
So the next day we went to Dynamic Earth.
Which is awesome.
It's this lovely geology museum, experience type thing. And to start off with, they have this thing telling you you're going back in time, and it's like, it's actually a lift. But I came up with this idea for an episode of Doctor Who set there. There was like a monster in there, and so the Doctor went in there, and he was being told it was a time machine. And he's trying to explain why this is a very improbable design for a time machine. Besides, humanity hasn't actually created time travel at this point in history. And he's having this one-sided conversation with a person who works there. And then about 3/4 of the way through, he realizes that it's just a lift, and so then starts apologizing and then sort of walks off.
That'd be great. But actually, it was really, really cool, and I enjoyed it a lot. It's because it was kind of like for like literally 2/3 of what you would pay to go to the Franklin Institute. It was that kind of level of tech and stuff. And then it also included an IMAX showing, or this kind of 3D dome thingy showing, of a movie about Darwin and natural selection, which is really well done. And I was really happy because there wasn't, in the States these days, that if you had a museum like this, people would protest, they would say, evolution is just a theory, and all this, you'd get young Earth creationists protesting, but there was none of that. There was none of that going on here. It was basically, this is scientific truth. If you don't like it, too bad.
Yeah, there was no quarter given to ridiculous ideas about balance where there is no balance.
Exactly.
But it had the best bit of it too, where near the end, this sort of little CGI film about Darwin and how he invented the concept of natural selection, how he came up with everything. And then at the end they have this music video which shows the camera pans back in the water and it shows these early sort of life forms and then they're replaced by later ones. It's not following one individual, it's following like groups. So it's slightly more scientifically accurate. But they're panning back and then showing them come out of the water, and then it hits the dinosaurs, and then the asteroid hits, and there's a huge, thing of dust and, ash and everything, and then just in time for a guitar solo, all of the modern animals just run out of the explosion, and you've got a caveman with a guitar. With
an electric guitar. It was great.
Doing the guitar solo. This is one of the best things I've ever seen. It was amazing. It's just a pity they didn't end it there.
Yeah. But then, apparently, we didn't find this out until we got back to the hotel, and checked Twitter that we were recognized at the Dynamic Earth.
Indeed. I'm not sure who it was. There were two guys, because I saw the picture of the guy, his Twitter, because he was like messaged us saying, oh, did I see Omega and Hagen at Dynamic Earth? And based on his look on the picture there, I'm not sure if it was the guy who let us into the cinema, or if it's the guy who closed the door for us after we left Dynamic Earth, because we sort of went outside and we either forgot or there's something about the door, and the door was open after we left. I can't really remember. It was very windy, so the wind might have caught it. I don't know.
Oh, it was pouring down rain that morning. I'd be not very wet.
But if you listen to this, please send me a message on the Hagen Facebook group. I'd love to know which of the two you are, or if you're someone else.
Dun, dun, dun.
But yeah, being told that, finding out that we were recognized sort of made our evening.
Yeah. And then we went to the National Museum of Scotland, and that was really cool. That was full of a great bunch of old junk, which I love. Crap like that.
Oh yeah, we saw like a 500-year-old Scottish guillotine, which predates the French one. It's called
Maiden.
The Maiden. Yep. We saw big fucking broadswords. We saw Dolly the sheep, because the first cloned sheep obviously happened in Scotland. We're just lucky they didn't deep fry her.
Psh. You guys probably would have too. We saw a whole bunch of stuff. We I'll put all the pictures up so you guys can be watching these while we talk. But yeah, it was really cool. I love science and nature and stuff like that, and it was just so huge, and it had so much interesting stuff.
So much. We didn't even get to see everything that we wanted to see.
Because they were closing, we're like, oh, we better leave.
Yeah. And although we have to say, we only went in there like that day because we attempted to go to Mary King's Close, but they were sort of really popular, so they were booked up for several hours, so we booked for the next day.
And honey, what exactly is Mary King's Close? Will you tell our audience?
Mary King's Close is one of the closes, which is one of the parts of Edinburgh is sort of, it's got several sections. The closes were these little streets coming off the Royal Mile, which was like the main street of the old town. And the closes were these tiny places, so they were like overcrowded. They were like up to about 11 stories tall of buildings, but they were tiny, thin, and if you lived on the bottom floor, then you almost got no natural light. It was really horrible. But they were building a new building, so what they did was, rather than actually just destroy all these things, they built the building on top of one of these sections of closes.
Yeah, they just kind of like leveled off some of the top floors of the building.
Yeah.
And then just enclosed the rest of it in like the basement.
Yeah, put some new foundations in there, but basically used these people's houses, several levels of these people's houses, as foundations. And after that, certain parts of the close, you were not allowed. After that, you were not legally allowed to live in there because it's underground. You're not allowed to live underground in Edinburgh. However, you were still able to work there, so you had people continuing to work in these old houses. And then...
Up until 1936, the guy said.
Yep, and then you were not allowed to work underground anymore, so...
Well, because it was the National Exchange Building, and now it's the Council Building.
Yeah.
They didn't like people being under the Council Building.
But if you're not allowed to work in Edinburgh underground, then there must have really bad, sewers.
So well, obviously, honey, that's different.
But then in the 40s, it was used as an air raid shelter for, World War II. Then it was used for, like, just collecting shit. And then I think in the mid-80s, they finally opened it up as a tourist attraction. So you go through these buildings, some of which were untouched in, almost untouched in several hundred years.
I mean, there was one that was from, I forget when, but he turned the lights there was a special light bulb in the room that if you dimmed it, you could still see the patterns that had been pressed into the wall to make, like a kind of like a wallpaper pattern.
Yeah,
it was pretty awesome. It was very affecting.
It was in those days when you would just paint stuff and then you would get some other paint and then press a pattern and make it look like wallpaper because wallpaper was expensive. This is 200 years, probably more. And then the other room where it was, this family had still lived in what was basically underground up until the 1902 or something when they were finally forced out. They opened their door, but we were not allowed to go into the house because it was left mostly untouched. But you're not allowed to go in there because of arsenic in the wallpaper.
Well, yeah, they used Paris green, which if you know your Victorian times, Victorians were all about arsenic, used to dye things and stuff, and not really thinking about the fact that it's arsenic.
Yeah, so it was like, wow, it was amazing just to get so connected in with history.
It really was, and you could also get your picture taken. Now, unfortunately, I don't have a digital copy of that, so I can't put the picture up, But yeah, Mary King's Close, it's a little bit expensive, but it's well worth it. Yeah, I thought so. But, so the night before we went to this Chinese buffet, which was okay, and I found a bug in my prawn crackers. You really, you could have got us all free meals. Well, I didn't want to make a scene. You could have been American about it and been all like, and then get us all free meals. So impolite. Oh, well. Besides, our dads paid for it anyway, so. But, so then the next day we saw the castle, and that was pretty amazing. Because there's this thing they do is at 1 o'clock they fire this cannon. And they've done it for years and years and years and years.
It was originally started as a way to connect, to make sure that the ships in the harbor realized it was 1 o'clock.
But so they fire a blank, obviously. And so it was really, really windy and really cold. And I bought a hat that said Scotland on it, and in the gift shop before we started, which my father-in-law made fun of me for. But so around 1 o'clock, everyone's gathering. They've got their cell phones out. They're trying to stand on benches to get a shot of this, and people keep saying, get off the benches. And so then they fire off this cannon. Bang! And then everyone went, woo! And like shrieked, like startled. I wanted to be like, what part of firing off a cannon did you not realize was loud?
Yeah, but what's really sad is that it's nowhere near as loud as it used to be.
Apparently.
Yeah, maybe it must be health and safety or something. That's a bit annoying.
That's what our parents said. But it was really awesome. We got to see St. Margaret's Chapel, which is over 800 years old. According to the little audio guide, it is the oldest standing building in Edinburgh, which was very affecting for me. I was very affected.
It was very, very cool.
A huge cannon, and I'm going to have a picture up of it now, called Mons Meg, that could basically chuck a huge stone cannonball 3 miles.
Mm-hmm. It's, unfortunately, it was so, they used so much gunpowder that you can only fire it like 5 times a day, so it didn't see very much open combat.
But we also saw the Scottish Crown Jewels. Now, we weren't allowed to take pictures, for obvious reasons. So these are just pictures that were from the exhibit that led to that. But here's the thing. So apparently...
Oh, there's pictures online.
Okay, well, I'll use those. And I'll note where they're not my pictures. But so here's the thing. So pretty much anything that happens that was bad in the UK's history, you can blame on one of 2 entities. France or Oliver Cromwell. So
or Margaret Thatcher.
Or Margaret Thatcher. No, I mean like history, not like within recent history. That's true, she's dead now. But anyway, so apparently, like back in the day, Cromwell was like, God damn it, you guys, I hate everyone. And tried to steal the Scottish Crown Jewels. I wasn't really sure why. It didn't really mention much of why, but...
well, Cromwell was...
It kind of seems like a catch-all Batman villain.
He was he was the Republican head of England after the Civil War, and Scotland sort of vacillated between being okay with him and not being okay with him. So basically he wanted to take the Crown Jewels, because he destroyed the English Crown Jewels as a symbol of monarchy. Mm-hmm. So he wanted to do the same with Scotland, I guess, probably melt them down and then use them to make sovereigns or something.
But they got away. Some people saved them and stuff. So then, like 100 or so years later, when Scotland had a union with England and became part of the United Kingdom, they basically took the Scottish Crown Jewels and they put them in a box somewhere and forgot about them.
Well, see, no, after Cromwell was got rid of, they were brought back and they were used to crown King Charles II. He was crowned in Scotland before he was crowned in England. And then they were used in service again. But then whenever the official union of England and Scotland happened, then the Crown Jewels were officially retired because...
They were put in a box and forgot about. And lost.
They were officially not the Crown Jewels anymore then. Because the Scottish crown became subsumed in the English crown.
I don't care if they're officially anything. It's not, like that silver that you only use when Great Aunt Ethel comes to visit. They're like fucking crown jewels.
Actually, the crown jewels, that is exactly what the crown jewels are, because the crown jewels are only ever used at official things of state, and only a couple of them. Usually only like once or twice a year.
Yeah, but they're more valuable than the silver that you use when Great Aunt Ethel comes to visit.
This is true, it is.
But so they put them in a box and forgot about them, and then
Walter.
Thank you. And Sir Walter Scott was like, oh, is this box it? Hooray, it's them.
Well, yeah, there was lots of rumors that the crown jewels had been destroyed or sent to England or sent to France or something, and Walter Scott was like, I feel like being patriotic. I'm going to prove that they're actually still here in Scotland and make them into a thing. So that was that. So that was the castle, and it was pretty cool. Oh, they also had the Stone of Scone. Oh, yeah. And that was pretty moving as well. Now, in case you don't know this, but if you have seen Gargoyles, the Stone of Scone is the stone that our Arthur in Gargoyles took Excalibur out of and talks to him in a sort of a James Earl Jones type voice in a later episode. But the Stone of Scone is the stone of, it's the symbol of British monarchy. the 100% symbol. I'm surprised it survived the Cromwell thing, because from the 12th century till about 1996 or so, it was basically in England. It was a Scottish thing, but it was stolen by Edward I of England, and it was used as the coronation stone. Basically, it's put into the throne for every single coronation since then. But now it's back up in Scotland, so the Scottish are like, yeah, but it's going to be taken back to Westminster for the crowning of future monarchs. And yes, it's the origin of the scone of stone from dwarves in Terry Pratchett.
So, yeah, and then the next day, my parents left. They went to go to London, and then we had about an afternoon to run around. So we went to the Edinburgh dungeon. Dungeon.
Which I really loved, but you apparently didn't, so I'm upset.
No, it's not.
I'm going to cry forever.
No, I'm never going to live this down, you guys. I just thought it would be more history and less special effects. Less being in the dark and less people nearly touching you.
Well, if in case you have never been to one of the dungeons, audience, it's basically a cross between, you got little bits of museum-y stuff. You've got sort of like, you got amateur theatrics going on. It's a bit like a Hammer horror movie. They're trying to explain to you local myth and history and stuff, but they're doing it interactively in a very, very tongue-in-cheek way.
Yeah, like the part where you go down into quote-unquote Mary King's Close, and they're like, oh, here's Mary King's Close, where they bricked up plague victims to die. Which, and I really kind of wanted to be like, excuse me, sir, we went to Mary King's Close yesterday, and they told us that was a myth that actually never happened, sir. Thank you.
Well, if that's the most inaccurate thing that you're going to find in one of the dungeons, then you're quite lucky, because in the London dungeon it claims that Sweeney Todd was a real person.
Oh dear. But one funny thing that happened was, so at the beginning, we were in our own group because there was nobody else there, so we got everybody's personal attention.
It was very, very early morning.
So we wanted to get there on time so we could go do other stuff too. And so Hagen ended up being the torture victim in the torture chamber. And the torture lady was like, look, if you can't guess what my torture things do, I'll torture her. If you can guess, I'll still torture her. Ha ha ha. What is this? And see, the thing is that I've watched a lot of documentaries on the Dark Ages and stuff like that. And I was like, oh, those are tongue pulls. You would heat them till they're red hot and pull out people's tongues with them. And she's like, oh, but a torturer, have ye? I was like, I saw a documentary. So,
I spent my entire time talking back to the characters.
You did. And then there was at the end, the whole premise is that you're going to be executed is the thing. So you get to the part where this ghost on a flat screen tells you about how you're going to die on the gallows. So while she's reading this, I go over to a thing where I say, you must be this tall to hang. And it's like, this is a huge sudden drop ride. So if you have any problems, you better not go on this. I was like, I don't want to go on a ride. I didn't sign up for this. And the hangman comes out the door. He's like, are you ready? And I was like, well, I had 2 vertebrae fused a few years ago, so I probably shouldn't go on it. I totally lied to that man.
And then I decided not to go on because you weren't going on.
Right, and he was like, that you have been spared the hangman's noose. The gift shop is this way.
Because I've been on at least 2 of the, I've been on 2 of the dungeons at least 2 or 3 times each, and I do not need to go on the drop again.
Yeah, and I don't need to go on the drop ever.
Yeah, the drop ride. I've been to 2 of the dungeons at least 2 or 3 times each, and I really could avoid being on the drop ride. You know, it's funnish, but I really, really didn't want to do it without you.
Okay, that's good. So then we met up with your parents, and we got a flight back to Belfast and back to Derry. And then slept. At least I think we slept. Yeah, I'm pretty sure we slept because I was exhausted.
Yeah, we were supposed to be going to the Marble Arch Caves the next day, but unfortunately things sort of fell through there because everyone in our group who was in Edinburgh fell sick.
Yeah. Like, your parents did. I eventually did when we were in Belfast and coming back, and I found out that my parents got real sick. So pretty much like my house sounds like a TB ward right now. But so instead we got a ride into town, and we bummed around Derry, and we went to this really, really, really great old used bookshop, which I could have easily spent, like, literally 4 or 5 hours in there. But I got some old books, and that was pretty cool.
With the really friendly guy running it.
Yeah. And then we went to the mall.
We went to Fireside and looked at different shops.
Oh, we went to that place, Bedlam, that shop that you were telling me about.
Oh, yeah, sort of the Derry eccentric shop.
And that was really cool. Because I found now, so if you guys know, I'll put up a shot of Ramune. Ramune is a Japanese soda that has this really unique kind of glass bottle. And apparently, we saw a bottle like that from the 19th century in the Tower Museum, and I was like, oh my gosh, Teddy, because Teddy and the Avatar were with us. Look, primitive Ramune. But apparently, that's called a cobneck bottle, and it was popular back in the day. And relatively few of them ended up surviving because kids would bust them open to get the marble out. So I found one, because I love, like, old bottles and old patent medicine bottles. So that was a really big, huge find for me. Also went to Poundland and bought candy.
Yes. Lots of candy. Well, and in Bedlam we found that amazing looking, like, over 100-year-old camera and everything, and if we had silly amount of money...
Like the kind that you, like, have, like, a phosphorus plate for. You know.
Yeah, if we had silly amount of money and we were convinced that we wouldn't break it, I'm pretty sure one of us would have bought it.
Yeah, so pretty much, because both of our dads are photography enthusiasts, it could have been in Derry for half the year and in Philly the rest of the year.
Then, we did all that sort of stuff. I took you around the woods.
Oh yeah, we did. We went to the quarry.
Yeah, because where I live in Derry, there is like a bit of woodland, and it's nearly untouched in parts from, several thousand years. It's most of it's not been destroyed and deforested and replanted. This is like, as untouched as Irish woodland really can be.
And you guys, like, if you're American, it really did feel like you were running around in Grimm's fairy tale, the kind of forest that it was, even though it was a light forest. But I can't describe to you how weird it felt. Well, first of all, I had to borrow some Wellington boots because I discovered that my trusty Caterpillar steel toe work boots have holes in the soles. But it's so weird to go tromping through undergrowth and not worry about 1, deer ticks, 2, any kind of poison plant at all.
Indeed.
Like, that's so, like, because, I was a Girl Scout, and leaves of 3, let it be, and tuck your socks into your shoes because of the ticks, and it was an interesting experience.
Yeah, you were like, oh, do we have, like, ticks or anything like that, or should I be worried about poison ivy? I'm like, I don't know what the fuck you're talking about. Nothing in there can kill you unless you're stupid. And I'm talking about so stupid you dunk your head into, like, a big thing of water. Deliberately.
And then we got fish and chips from an official chippy.
Indeed, one of the ones. If you're in Derry, go to the chippy in New Buildings. Not the one on the outside of not the one on the outside of New Buildings on the Brehen side. Go actually into New Buildings. It's near the school. It's beside like the chemists and stuff. It's fucking amazing. It's the best fish and chip shop place in Derry, possibly the rest of Northern Ireland. I got someone from Belfast saying it was the best one in Northern Ireland, so I'll trust them.
Yep, and it was pretty good. I enjoyed it. And then the next morning we got up because we were going to Belfast for the day. And that's what we did.
Yes, because I had not been to the wonderful new Titanic exhibit, so I decided I would wait and bring my wife. So it can be symbolic of our marriage sinking slowly beneath the waves of love.
Hey, that's weird.
I don't
just
know
to let you guys know, this
this
episode's going to go a little bit long. We're not going to do a story from the store. We're not going to do Giovanni's trivia time. Just the whole trip, stuff like that. So
this all trip all the fucking time.
So we went to this place called Barbecue, and I went on Yelp and gave them a 4-star review. They purport to do American-style barbecue, and I got to give it to them. It did. Their cornbread was good. They had 4 kinds of barbecue sauce, representing the 4 main kinds of barbecue. They had the Carolina, like the more mustard, smoky that I like. I think they had Kansas City. They had Tennessee, didn't they? And they had one other, but I can't remember what it is.
They had, as far as I can tell, they had all of the main ones.
Yeah, so it was pretty good.
Yeah, and the guys who do that apparently did the Northern Ireland's first 100% authentic Mexican. It's called Boojum, which I've never been to, but I'm told is very good.
And then we walked across the bridge from Battle of the Bone, and it was in an insane wind because it was right next to the water, and went to the Titanic experience.
The wind was so fucking strong, both of us were in slight risk of being knocked over.
Yeah, it was like the most powerful wind I've ever walked in. But the Titanic experience was a bit pricey, but it was worth it. I mean, how often do you go to a museum about the Titanic? So
that's actually located in the place where it was built.
Yeah. So that was pretty cool. And
took a long time, but then
the main event of Belfast.
Yes, you have to explain this because.
So I was told, okay, you have to go to this one restaurant. It's an Asian, Pan-Asian buffet, and it's really good. And I was like, yeah. Okay, whatever. I was not prepared for the experience of Cosmo. Now, Cosmo's is located in Victoria Square, so I'll put like their menu shot or Google it if you can. But
it's a franchise place, so there's actually about 10 across the UK.
Oh, I didn't know that. So we had reservations, which was good because the queue for people without reservations was about an hour.
You see, I knew.
You did know. You knew. And this place is huge. They had a lot of Indian dishes, Chinese, not a lot of Korean, but some, Thai. They had Italian. They had a place that just fried huge things of meat. They did fresh sushi to order. Just everything.
They did sort of flame roasting. They did British stuff. They did this sort of Japanese sort of what do you call it, hibachi type thing.
It was amazing. So what happens is you get your table for 2 hours, and you can just eat stuff for 2 hours. They had the desserts were amazing. They had this thing called Eaton Mess, which is like Eaton, like Eaton. It's kind of like this trifle-y kind of thing. I like to call it hot mess. But
trifle and meringue all mixed together.
It's amazing. They had a chocolate fountain, although it was broken. They had like billions of kinds of cakes, and it was, if you're a kind of person, you're like, I eat food, so I don't die. This is probably not for you. If you're the kind of person that says, I like to eat food because food is great and amazing, this place is for you.
It is, it took a lot for the place to defeat, Chiquito as my favorite place in Victoria Square to eat, because I'm a big fan of Mexican food, even though Chiquito's isn't that good. But this achieved it. If you're in one of the like 10 or so UK cities that has a Cosmo, if you haven't been, go.
It's worth it. It really is.
If you have, just go again.
But so then we went back to the hotel room. Now, unfortunately, it was warm that night, and they don't do air conditioning ever in the UK, so we just kind of had to have the window open.
Because it's almost never necessary.
Well, I was hot. So we ended up watching...
Yeah, almost.
We ended up watching TV in bed. And then I had a nightmare that Harry Russo was going back in time and stealing people's faces from Mary King's clothes. I think I woke you up in the night to tell you that.
That would be a so much better sequel for Schizophrenic than Ku Klux of Hell.
Mm-hmm. So then, the next morning I was starting to get sick, and we got the bus to a town called Oma, which is famous for its slaughter and atrocities and troubles. And then...
Yeah, that's fair.
We met up with my father-in-law to go to this thing called the Ulster American Folk Park.
Which is like an inversion of the American obsession with Ireland.
Yeah, that's fair to say. Yeah.
You've got basically, it starts off with, okay, this is built around this farmhouse where this guy who moved to America when he was 5 and became a very rich banker in Chicago, Thomas Mellon, where he was one of the robber barons where he was born. So one of his great-grandchildren came over, bought the old farmhouse, and then bought the land around it and created a history park, basically to say, check out how much money my family made when we moved to America. Suck it. And it sort of grew and grew from there. So what they have is the first half of it is Irish village. They've got reconstructions of old ones. They've got actually been given buildings which they would take apart stone by stone, bring them to the location, rebuild them. They've got, everything filled with as much period authentic stuff they have. They have people acting there, living, talking to you and everything. Sometimes
kind of like in Colonial Williamsburg they do.
Yeah. But then you go through...
The best part, though, was that one of the groups that was wandering around was elderly people from America, including, like, Southerners from, like, Tennessee and people with accents. It was really great.
Yep. And but then halfway through you go on a ship ride, which they've recreated, well, it's not a ride, but they've recreated a very, very rough mock-up of like one of the ships that Irish people went to go to America, and then they have sort of created various periods of American colonial history, and so you can do both sides.
And it was really cool because, like, we're in this ship, and my father-in-law's running around taking pictures. So then I say to my wife, I said, I really don't know why I phrased it this way, but I said, oh, go over there and suffer it, I'll take your picture. So you're on the crossing. And the picture, it looks like you swallowed a lemon sour. That's what it looks like.
But I like lemon sours.
You're just making this face like, oh, I need to spit this thing out.
But just before we left Ireland, we went into a shop, which is actually from my hometown. It was taken over there, I don't know when. And it's actually operating as a real shop, and they're selling sweets. So I bought some, but the woman thought I was American again, so then I had to explain that not only am I not American, but I'm totally
from the town her shop came from.
Yeah. It was funny at the time.
Yeah.
The ship left us off in Baltimore, and I have to say I have been in Baltimore, and it's a little different. Not nearly enough heroin.
To like a general store. But it was really cool. It was a really good experience. And then on the way home, we went to Asda in Strabane, which is kind of like a grocery store, but with a Target on top of it.
Asda is owned by Walmart. It is basically the Walmart type thing. Although we also went to another pirate shop, and I bought another 10 possible review movies.
Yeah, she did.
I'm like that.
And then we had kedgeree for dinner.
Yep. Good Scottish dish. Well, Anglo-Indian, Scottish-Indian. It's basically rice, smoked fish, curry powder, and hard-boiled egg.
It was good.
Omega was horrified by the amount of British things she tried for the first time that she actually liked.
I wasn't horrified. Basically what would happen is you'd be like, try this, it's horrifying. I did try this stuff called Scottish Cola, or red, what was it?
Scottish Cola. The red Cola was the stuff I had at Luca's, which you did like.
Okay. But this stuff, right, and basically imagine if someone took like about, 2 or 3 cups of white sugar, like refined white sugar, and dissolved that in about, 2 bottles worth of Pepto-Bismol. That's what this stuff tasted like. It was horrifying.
It's amazing.
Blech.
I love it.
Blarf.
We also tried stuff like sticky toffee pudding and Mars bar cake and stuff like that.
Hell, I tell you what, I got a little square of Mars bar cake one morning at a filling station. We were with Arnicarian, and I tell you what, I turned to her and I said, "This is the best thing I've ever eaten." And I found a recipe for it, and I had sticky toffee pudding twice while I was, and it's just so good. It's just I need to find. Apparently, dates are involved in its creation.
But for anyone who doesn't know what Mars bar cake is, basically,
it's awesome.
You've got shortbread on the bottom, and then you've got caramel, and then you've got hard chocolate on the top.
But it's not like caramel sauce, like for ice cream. It's like kind of chewy.
It's like the sort of stuff awesome. you get that sort of caramel in British Mars bars. I don't know if you get. That's why it's called a Mars bar cake.
Yeah, but I mean, like sometimes, like when I think of caramel, I think of like the runny stuff that you put on ice cream.
Now this is the slightly more toffee-ish type. But yeah, if the recipe you found for a Mars bar cake isn't good enough, just tell me and I will get my mother to send you hers because she used to make a really champion one.
Awesome. So then the next day we got up way early because
every day we got up early.
Yeah, we did. We had to suffer.
Mm-hmm.
Because the time for a film marathon had come.
So if you check my blip or whatever, you don't know what it is, you can find out, or I can just tell you now. What should I do?
Tell them now. We
watched all 7 Police Academy movies in a row, taking brief moments to not review, to vlog or to go and get something to eat.
We went to Sainsbury's. Do you know what they have in Sainsbury's? They have, so a lot of people, and if you like Strongbow, forgive me because I like it too, but a lot of times, really, pretentious people will be like, oh, well, if I'm drinking British cider, it's only Strongbow things and stuff. And I'll throw the picture up here. They have it in 2-liter plastic bottles, which kind of kills the mystique a wee bit, just saying.
Yeah, Strongbow does not have mystique over here. Strongbow is a little bit like Pabst Blue Ribbon.
Oh, that's great.
It's basically the sort of thing that's drunk by teenagers as their first bit of alcohol.
Oh, no, really? It's too bad, because it's all sorts of schwank. I mean, don't get me wrong. There's a lot of Angry Orchard, and such, and there's a lot of really good, American microbreweries now that are getting into the artisan cider. But that's too funny. And you got we drank. We didn't drink a lot because you don't drink much, and I wasn't feeling well, so.
Yeah, but we drank some. I found some Iron Brew Alco Pops, which you thought was nasty.
Yeah. And I finally had a Tower Zinger burger from KFC over there.
Yeah, now the UK KFC, guys, is very different from the American KFC. Almost nothing is on both menus.
And mine had, so it was like a chicken sandwich with a hash brown and what else, honey?
There was mayo, there was lettuce. Usually, sometimes you get tomato, but not often. You get spicy salsa added to it.
It was good.
The chicken, I think, is spiced as well. What I do to it is I take the top off and I add a layer of French fries, because KFC in the UK does French fries. And I take a hot wing and I shred it and put it on top as well. So then I've got 3 different types of spice and 2 different types of chicken.
And the cool thing was, we went out for Chinese that night and then brought it back. And the girl that rang us up at the Chinese place and took our orders was the same girl that helped us at KFC. Because apparently she works 2 jobs. And she was like, oh, I saw you earlier. We're like, you did? Oh, my God.
We're recognized again.
Yep. So, we did that, and then we got up early the next morning.
And we cursed the fact that every day we had to get up.
Yeah, I think that's probably why I got sick from getting up early, not sleeping, and running around. But we went to the Giant's Causeway, which, if you have the opportunity, totally go to. Because, alright, so the joke was that there's a lot of, as you drive through Northern Ireland, there's these government-sponsored signs that say, you are entering the Sperrin Mountains, what was it?
An area of outstanding natural beauty.
Which kind of sounds like a command. You will find it outstanding. Look at the view. Say it. Say, look at the view. Look at this view. It's outstanding natural beauty. But with the Giant's Causeway, it's like you're in everybody's office manager's calendar. Because everyone has an office manager or someone that they work with. It's got one of those Irish scenic calendars. And I'm not one of those, wow, look at the view kinds of people, but I was just looking around thinking, wow, look at the view.
Yeah, you got these, the whole area is covered in 5-sided columns of volcanic rock, which all apparently the lava flowed into the water, into the ocean, and froze in these really beautiful things. And so now you've got some really, really tall columns of volcanic rock that are all 5-sided. And it's all over this massive area. Now apparently it used to be much bigger because until 1906 or something it was legal to sell individual rocks to tourists. And I've seen drawings of what it looked like beforehand, and it would indicate that there was quite a lot sold.
But, and the cool thing was, so it's owned by the National Trust, meaning that you have to pay to use the visitor center, which is the cafe and the gift shop and the bathrooms and everything. But if you don't want to, you don't have to pay. You can just park and go up to the thing, but you can just walk around it. Obviously, when you first go down the path, there's signs that say, be careful, don't slip and fall. But it's kind of accepted that if you slip and fall and hurt yourself, you've got no one to blame but yourself. There are no railings. You can just crawl all over the thing. You can fall in the water if you want to. You can climb up cliffs. And apparently people do fall and hurt themselves and die pretty regularly, but I was shocked.
Well, not quite pretty regularly, every so often.
Well, Arnicarian made it sound like it was a pretty regular occurrence.
What they said was last time they were there, an American broke his neck.
Yeah.
I don't know when it was last time they were there, though, but
That's
they
true.
do have their family does have a second house sort of
right,
near there.
Yeah, in Fort Rush.
But the, wonderful looking place. Now, for any of you who have seen, the Hellboy 2, The Golden Army, there's a bit near the end where they have a section set at the Giant's Causeway, and they show it as a field. This thing, which in real life is amazing. It's,
Sorry,
this amazing, striking piece of geology, and they portray it as a field. So that was fucking hilarious when watching that in a cinema, an hour away from it, because it's the most interesting looking part of Ireland.
We were rollicking about and sitting and climbing, and we fell down a mountain and died in one instance. And I'll put the picture up there.
And so, but back to Hellboy. The real tragedy is they actually filmed that field in Northern Ireland. So they could have filmed it at the actual Giant's Causeway. They decided not to.
Oh. But so everything was going fine until we had to do battle with a douche. Honey, will you tell the tale?
There was a douche.
He was an American douche. And I want to say he had like longish kind of like white hair, and he was wearing like a touristy kind of like almost a Hawaiian shirt, but not quite, and shorts and sandals with no socks, in a place where I could easily see, even though I was wearing my big old work boots, falling and twisting an ankle. Like, it was very treacherous walking, is what I'm saying. Okay, continue.
Basically, there's a thing called the Giant's Boot, where it's roughly shaped like a boot and it's sort of smooth and you can sit there and get photos taken.
It's really cool.
So we got a photo taken there, and then he was going to get a photo taken, and I was waiting by the boot because I was waiting to get...
Well, let's preface this by saying that the boot is kind of out in these rocks, but it's a long way from the path. So what a lot of people were doing was they'd have their family members sit and they'd come up close, take the picture, and then all leave. Like, that's what all the people who went before us did.
Yeah.
But the douche's girlfriend was standing on the path because she was not coming out. She wanted a wide-angle shot, I guess.
Yeah, and we were standing there because I wanted to get a copy. I wanted to get a photo of this rock, because the area we were standing, basically the water comes up to it every so often at high tide, and there was some seaweed on this rock that made it look like the rock had a beard, like a comedy Scottish beard. Like it was even reddish. So I was standing there waiting to get the phone so I could take a photo of this and then walk on, when the guy basically got pissy with me and demanded I leave the area so he could have a wide-angle shot of him.
And so... apparently, we found out this out, a bit later, we got up back to the visitor center, was that, when he was walking out, Arnicarian, stepped on this rock that's kind of slippery. The guy stepped on next, he said, "Oh, be careful, that's slippery." And apparently the guy said something like, "Yeah, I can see that." All super snotty. And so we were going back, and we're like, "Oh, the douche. What an American douche." And in the cafe, they got, some food, and I decided to get a 15s, which is a really awesome, really sweet Northern Irish kind of pastry treat, and a drink. So I'm waiting in line. And there's two girls who are working at the cafe, and there's this English woman in front of me who is paying for her stuff. And I see the douche comes up from the other side of her, budges in front of her while she's paying, and says, "Is there, any ice at all?" And one of the girls who works there is like, "Oh, well, I don't know if we have any more ice left, sir. I'll let me go see." And so while this is happening, the English woman finishes paying, and then she goes away. And then it's my turn. And so the girl's ringing up my stuff. And the other girl comes in, she's like, "No, I'm sorry, sir." Because this was maybe 3 or 4 in the afternoon by this time. And she goes, "I'm sorry, sir, I don't think we have any ice left." He goes, "Yeah, great. It would have been nice to know before I got a warm soda." And walked away. And the girl was like, "Oh." And I was like, "I'm sorry. From my country, I apologize." And so I took a picture of him on our way out, and I'll put this up right now. So consider yourself publicly shamed on Lesbian Talk for being a douche. You douche.
He was a bit of a douche.
He was much of a douche.
But during this trip, I found something out that's rather funny, which I really wish I'd known earlier, because this is the sort of thing I love to use as a fact to irritate people. Mm. Cuchulainn is the famous Irish mythic hero. But Cuchulainn was actually the character in the myth. He's actually the defender of Ulster, being the part... Well, Ulster is all of Northern Ireland plus 3 counties of Southern Ireland, and Ulster generally being the northwest one.
Let's see if I can get it right. Ulster, Minster, Webster?
Munster.
Munster and Connaught.
Yeah.
You cannot pass.
And basically, Cuchulainn, his entire shtick was that, well, he was really hard and he, killed the shit out of stuff, but he fought and died, mythically, battling against the south of Ireland. So, what we have here is Ireland, this great mythic Irish hero who actually died fighting the Irish.
Dun dun dun.
This is the sort of thing that I'm going to love sort of mentioning to some people. It's a hilarious little fact.
So you control?
Although I really think that Cuchulainn, they should really Northern Ireland should really embrace Cuchulainn as a unifying thing that the Unionists and the pro-British ones can get behind him because it's a symbol of Ulster being different from the rest of Ireland, and the Irish can get behind him because he's an Irish folk hero. It would be quite neat to have a unifying thing for them.
I agree with you. But so then we went home, and we had some food, and we had our last evening, and then I went to bed. You stayed up till 3 in the morning.
Yeah, because rather than try to go to sleep and then wake up for 3 o'clock to get you to the bus for 4, I decided to stay up and then go to sleep afterwards, which I think was wise on my part.
Yeah, I think it was as well. But so then we got a cab to the bus station, and I got the bus from Derry to Dublin. And I got there, and then I got my plane, and I came home, and that's the story. So that's us, and now I'm back. But I do have I read a blog post about this obviously already, so if you read my site, then you'll have read that. What I'm considering doing is I was in college back in the day, and at the time I ran out of money, and I had to get a job. I was already working. I gotta rephrase that, makes sound lazy, but so I was in college, and I was working pretty much near full time at the time, and then I ran out of money, and my roommates moved on, and I had to get an apartment by myself and stuff, so I never was able to afford to go back to finish my degree. But what I've discovered is that it may be possible for me to get accepted and to go to it's University of Ulster. They have a campus in Derry, so if that works out, that would be pretty damn awesome.
It would be very damn awesome. Plus, it would mean that at least while, we're both in Derry, I'm guessing at some point we'd move to somewhere else, but, you'd be able to be on the show and everything.
Yeah. So, if you've been keeping track of the plight of our marriage and stuff like that, keep your fingers crossed for us, as this looks like it could be a viable thing.
So, we're hoping.
Yeah.
As a little rounder up for the trip, I'm genuinely sorry we didn't get to do the Marble Arch Caves. That was the day when everyone was sick. We lost that. I'm genuinely sorry that we didn't get to film the Let's Try, because Omega brought a bunch of stuff for the Minions to try, and they're going to try it.
Huge sack of sweets.
Hopefully in the next week they're going to try it. I'm also sorry that we weren't able to film an episode while she was here.
Yeah.
The original idea was to film the next episode of my show that I have to film, which is Where the Dead Go to Die, and have Omega turn up at the start just randomly. Unfortunately, we did not have enough days to do that, so...
Well, you know what? I wouldn't be too sorry, honey, because we crammed so much into the time that we had, seriously.
Yeah, we did quite well.
I mean, I got to visit Scotland, which is a country I'd never been to before.
Mm-hmm.
So I've seen pretty much... The only 2 countries of the UK I haven't seen yet is England and Wales. We, got to... we should mention that our parents get along very well, so they got to have a nice holiday, so that was good too. But would go again. Lots of fun.
Yeah, and I'm sorry that we didn't get to go to London. Originally, the idea was that we would go to London with your parents, and I'd sort of be a guide, but financially it wasn't really viable. It was just cheaper to be in Northern Ireland. So next time you're over, which, I'm going to hope that it'll be before, next year or something. But I'm not expecting it, I'll take you to London.
But so, that was our UK extravaganza 30th episode, which apparently I'm told is a big deal in podcasting world. So, next week we will be back with the regular format. We will have the music break. We will have Giovanni's Trivia Fact, a story from the store. We are not going to consult the dictionary. We're going to carry over last episode's word, which was asylum. And so we will lead into that. But until that time, I've been the Omega. And who have you been this week?
I have been...
Nicole.
Oh, okay.
That's who you've been. We'll see you later, everybody.
See you later.